You can only imagine. They don't talk about what's happening to the boys and the men who are hostages. And Israel's supposed to negotiate, find a diplomatic solution. Has to stop because politically Biden is hurting. They've created this force within our country, this enemy within our country, and it's part of the Democrat Party base. When they do get some of these young girls back, 13, 15, 17, 18, 19, in their 20s, they're going to be pregnant by the terrorists who murdered the parents of the young girl they impregnated. You can imagine the psychological impact that has. And they're trying to prepare for when that day comes. Monsters. Absolute, disgusting monsters. And they put out a video the other day. A young Israeli girl was forced to read a narrative about 2 IDF soldiers who were murdered. They said they died as a result of the Israeli bombing. No, they were murdered. I think one was 19 and one was 25. You can only imagine. They don't talk about what's happening to the boys and the men who are hostages. And Israel's supposed to negotiate, find a diplomatic solution. Has to stop because politically Biden is hurting. They've created this force within our country, this enemy within our country, and it's part of the Democrat Party base. They're not Republicans, and they're not voting for Republicans, that's for sure. And so here we go. Here is the video. It's from Sky News. Hamas video purports to show bodies of 2 Israeli hostages. Go.
On Sunday, Hamas released a video of Noah Argamani, Yossi Sharabi in Itai Seversky.
And Noah Argamani there was the young girl who was kidnapped on that motorcycle, screaming for her life, if you remember. Go ahead.
In it, they were shown asking the Israeli government to stop fighting in Gaza and to secure their release. Tonight, Hamas released a new video showing the bodies of Yossi and Itai, claiming that they were killed in Israeli airstrikes.
You know I love you so.
In Hostage Freedom Square in Tel Aviv, where for 101 days they have gathered, sung and prayed for the hostages to come home, the news that 2 more wouldn't come out alive was just starting to sink in.
איתי לא נורה על ידי כוחותינו, זהו שקר של חמאס.
Itai was not shot by our forces. This is a lie by Hamas. The building where they were held was not a target and was not attacked by our forces. If we knew their location in real time, we don't attack a place where we know there might be abductees.
This is why Israel says it needs to continue fighting in Gaza. A terror attack in Israel in the town of Ra'ana, north of Tel Aviv. The terrorists stole vehicles and drove into bus stops, hitting Israeli civilians, killing 1 woman in her 70s and injuring 17 others, including children.
Now let's stop a second. So these Palestinians are working in Israel. They come out of Judea and Samaria, and they're plotting a terrorist attack on civilians near Tel Aviv. They take these vehicles and they drive into the crowd. One of the vehicles they took was of an older lady in her 70s. They stabbed her to death. They killed her, took her car. Then they drove into this group, and there's 17 casualties, different levels of casualties, but casualties. Again, this is not what the Israelis do. This is not what we do. It's a mentality. It is a culture. And so they keep talking about a 2-state solution, or Israel needs to stop. Israel's under constant attack. Imagine living this way. They're not bothering anybody. Go ahead.
2 Palestinian men from the West Bank city of Hebron have been arrested.
Now, Hebron, I've talked about this before, are where the patriarchs and all but one of the matriarchs are buried. Hebron. Hebron is in the Bible. Hebron was always part of the Jewish ancestral lands. In Hebron today, which is a small city, 85 Jewish families are left because of a massacre that took place several decades ago where the Palestinians slaughtered the Jews in Hebron. My family and I visited Hebron on a small bus with an armed driver, IDF, former, and everywhere you look in Hebron, there's IDF soldiers posted. And then when you look over the hill and down into the valley, there is a very prosperous community there, very prosperous. It's all lit up at night, all kinds of things going on there, and we were told, don't dare enter that. I said, why? It's a very wealthy area, and that's where the Palestinians, many of them, live. Okay. This is what happens. You look at Bethlehem. Jesus Christ was born in Bethlehem. A decade ago, it was over 60% Christian. It's now almost 70% Palestinian. They claim it as theirs. They claim Hebron as theirs. They claim Jerusalem as theirs. They claim Bethlehem as theirs. You understand? Go ahead.
They are relatives and were working in Israel illegally.
They didn't start ramming into security forces or police. They looked where they would find a mass of civilians standing, like at the bus stop right behind us, rammed their car straight into it, got out of the car, stole another car, and continued their attack until police were able to close in on the net of where they were and stop them and prevent them from harming any more civilians.
Israeli police say they have foiled dozens of potential terror attacks since October the 7th. Israel is coming under increasing international pressure for a ceasefire.
And then so there was a ceasefire, right up to October 6th. And yet apparently, reportedly, for years, Hamas, Iran, Hezbollah, and the rest of them were plotting this attack. So all a ceasefire does is give them time to rearm, to create more advanced technologies, to plan and plot who they're going to slaughter, how many they're going to slaughter. I mean, how many more cycles of this need to take place? If the Israelis want to wipe them out, wipe them out. If we can help them, help them. You see what's happening in the Middle East today? The war has expanded thanks to Biden. Thanks to Biden, not the Israelis. The Israelis didn't attack Iran. The Israelis are defending themselves against Hezbollah in the north and Hamas in the south. And the PLO, the Palestinian Authority, the moderates, on their East Bank, which is on Jordan's West Bank. And Blinken's going over there. He's stirring the pot. He's telling the Saudis, don't make a deal for recognition with Israel until they recognize the Palestinians. He's using the Saudis as pressure against the Israelis, trying to force them to give up. To give up. The enemy has their hostages. The enemy attacked them and raped their women, murdered their people. The enemy says they'll never stop. Iran's behind it. Iran's being funded by the United States government. Hamas is being funded by the United States government through UNRWA. The PLO is being funded directly by the United States government. Now the Houthis are attacking us. And guess what? Did you read? Joe Biden's going to put the terrorism label on them again. One of his first acts when he came in office was to remove it because he was placating, he was appeasing the Iranian regime. And now Iran has attacked Pakistan. And Pakistan has withdrawn its ambassador. It has ordered all its senior officials not to communicate with Iran because Iran knows who's going to do anything about it. And here's the kicker. They are a centimeter away from having a functional nuclear weapon. You remember North Korea, all of a sudden, my God, they had a nuclear weapon. That's exactly what's happening in Iran. And can you imagine attacking Pakistan, attacking Israel, which is what they're doing, attacking Yemen, basically devouring Iraq? They get a nuke. What are we going to do then? And what are we doing today to stop them from getting there? I'm so sick of the isolationists in the Republican Party. I'm so sick of Joe Biden arming our enemy. And it's Israel's fault. Russia invades Ukraine. It's Ukraine's fault. Have we lost our minds?
For all this and much more, sign up for Levin TV.